Hello, YouTubers. Day of November 2016 for you today, so we'll jump right on into it. First one is off of freebeacon.com. All of these URLs are in the description of my video, so if you need to do further research or you want to see any of the videos that's in any of these URLs, you're welcome to do so at your leisure. The first article here is military leader Iran sending elite fighters into U.S. The IRGC commander, RGC, will be in the U.S. and Europe very soon. Revolutionary Guards Corps, military force, is sending assets to infiltrate the United States and Europe. Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, recent Farsi language comments from an Iranian military leader. See Europe very soon, according to the Iranian military commander, who said that operate with the global bolstering Iran's hardline regime and thwarting potential the Islamic Republic. The whole world should know that the IRGC will be in the U.S. and Europe very soon. Nosh, deputy coordinator of Iran's Qatam El and Abi, an IRGC command front, was quoted as saying in an Iranian state-controlled publication closely tied to the IRGC. Comments come as Iran is sending great amounts of money to upgrade its military hardware and bolster its presence throughout the Middle East and beyond. Spend billions to purchase U.S.-made planes that are likely to be converted to Air Force. Leaders and others suspect that Iran has used a large portion of the cash windfall it received as a result of last summer's nuclear agreement to upgrade its war machine. GC is the strong guardian of the Islamic Republic, Abnosh saying. The Fedayeen of Baleta fighting force, the order of Iran's supreme leader, the Valiat, the supreme leader, order and limit. Iranian military and government officials have continued to advocate violence against the U.S. and its allies, despite the nuclear deal and several secret side agreements that gave Iran $1.7 billion in cash. Accuses the U.S. of violating its end of the agreement by not helping the Islamic Republic gain further access to international banks and other markets. Over this, accusations about to foster unrest in the country. Our enemies have several projects to destroy our Islamic revolution and have waged 3 wars against us to execute their plans against our Islamic Republic, Abnosh said. Has defeated enemies in several fronts. The enemy surrendered and accepted to negotiate with us. And now all of our problems are being solved and our country is becoming stronger in all fronts. Some believe the Holy Defense ended, the military leader added. They are wrong. The Holy Defense continues and today is more complicated than before. Congressional sources and involved in tracking Iran's increased aggression in the region and elsewhere told the Washington Free Beacon that these comments are troubling given Iran's very public efforts to assassinate political enemies and others across the globe. Previous terror attacks and assassination campaign around the world, such a statement is alarming, Saeed Ghassaminjad, an expert at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, told the Free Beacon. The Republic has killed hundreds of Iranians around the world in coordinated campaign of terror. Iran may decide to restart the project now that many Western companies are going to Iran, and Iran feels its action in Europe punished strongly. advises congressional leaders on Iran sanctions issues, told the Free Beacon administration is blocking Congress from taking action to stop this type of infiltration by Iranian forces. Ideologically, politically, and militarily committed to exporting the Islamic Revolution, which is why even Obama administration says they're the world's foremost state sponsor of terrorism. Congress wants to act, but Obama officials keep saying that new laws are unnecessary because the U.S. has enough tools to block Iranian terror expansion. Those tools, though, they're sending Iran billions of dollars in cash while Iran plants terror cells in Europe and here at home. The next article I have is off of Breitbart.com. Agent assaulted during arrest of an illegal alien. And there's a picture in this that, oh my God, I mean, it's gruesome. Take a look at that. U.S. Border Patrol by an illegal alien is attempting to arrest in Southern California. The assault on the agent assigned to the Calexico station caused an injury to his eye socket. The Border Patrol agent observed a man on the international boundary fence about 8:40 p.m. on Sunday night. Legal alien climbed over the fence. The agent made contact and attempted to arrest him, according to information obtained by Breitbart, Texas, from U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials. The alien struck the agent in the face with his elbow, officials stated. The agent in the left orbital eye socket and fled. Despite being injured, the agent pursued the man and caught up with him again and continued to fight, but the agent was able to subdue the man. In addition to the contusion to his left eye socket, the agent also suffered a laceration to his left elbow and a possible shoulder injury. The alien was arrested and turned over for possible prosecution for assault on a federal agent, which is felony. Earlier, another Border Patrol agent was assaulted in the same area of Calexico, Breitbart, Texas reported. The Border Patrol agent assigned to the Calexico station in Southern California responded to an alarm of an illegal border crossing near downtown Calexico. The crossing was detected by the remove and video surveillance system operators who monitor the border fence. To the alarm and was attacked by the illegal alien, according to information obtained from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials by Breitbart, Texas. Also struck by a concrete block thrown over the fence by others attempting to distract the agent. He was not seriously injured in the assault. Thankfully, only suffered minor injuries from this assault. Control of his attacker and make the arrest, Assistant Chief Patrol Agent said in a written statement about this week's attack. Assaults on our agents by criminals pursue on a federal officer against anyone who perpetrates such violence. Have told Breitbart, Texas, really true. Agents have said that unless an agent is seriously injured, charges of assaulting the officer are often, even when the prosecuted and convicted, sentences handed down on these tend to be less severe than similar assaults on other law enforcement officers. Reported in June about two Salvadoran who were sentenced to 27 months and 63 months in prison for assaulting a Border Patrol agent in Texas. The two illegal aliens attempted to choke the agent for his sidearm and baton. Either of those weapons could have been used to take the agent's life. The agent drew his pistol and fired at the illegal aliens. One was shot and the other fled. They are frequently assaulted by rock throwers from Mexico. Attack on agents in El Centro sector since the new fiscal year began has has reported extensively on the frequent attacks on these agents. The next article that I have for you is off of .com. It says Mount St. Helens is getting weirder. Is a mystery. Mount St. Helens is pretty unusual, said Steve Hansen, volcano responsible for the deadliest eruption in U.S. history, which appears to be stealing its fire from somewhere else. A geoscientist at the University of New Mexico and the imaging Magma Under St. Helens IMUSH project adds, it's telling us something about the system. It's behaving, and we don't know yet. Mount St. Helens is one of the most active volcanoes of the Cascade Arc. Eruptive mountains that runs parallel to the, Cascadia subduction zone, California to British Columbia. Major of the Cascadia Arc that lie along the north-south line where the wedge of the Fuchsia beneath the North American plate forces hot mantle material to rise. Lies to the west, geographically quiescent region called the Forearc Wedge. We don't have good explanation for why that's the case. Hansen led a seismic mapping survey of Mount St. Helens in the summer of 2014, deploying thousands of sensory measure motion in the ground around the volcano. They drilled nearly 24 holes, packed holes full of explosives, triggered a handful of minor, watched as seismic waves ricocheted beneath the mountain. For what seismic energy the subsurface, Hansen explained. It's a bit like a CAT scan. Hansen and his colleagues learned that the types of minerals present beneath the Earth's crust and mantle are markedly different to Mount St. Helens, confirming that this area is geographically special. Hot magma chamber directly beneath the volcano, seismic data, relatively cool wedge of serpentine rock. St. Helens out of place, but also lacks the magma we'd expect given its violent history. So where in the earth is Mount St. Helens getting its magma? The volcano's magma source lies to the east, west of the Cascadia Arc, where material is hotter, which still leaves the question of why a rock being forced westward through the current or upper crust or upper mantle to erupt in this one of a earthquakes crust may be particularly responsible, but more data needed to confirm such a link. There you have that information on Mount St. Helens. That's kind of strange. Next one we have off USA Today says mother in $3 million federal food stamp fraud. At work. A Wisconsin woman and her son have been indicted for allegedly stealing $3 million from the federal government through a benefits program extended to help the poor, according to court records. Late Wednesday says the fraud was committed at a Saver store between 2009 and 2014. The indictment was handed down by the grand jury Tuesday. Ethan M. Abdul Rahim and Zak Abdul Rahim indicted on account of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Indicted on counts of fraud and unauthorized use of food stamps. Raham was indicted on count of lying to investigators from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The count carries up to 20 years in prison. but the defendants are likely to get much less time in prison under the federal sentencing guidelines if they are convicted. Said Wednesday he didn't know had been indicted, and he denied being involved in any fraud. He said since died used to run the store, and he could not account for how he ran the operation. Indictment, the Rahims used to exchange supplemental nutrition assistance program or SNAP cards for cash. Through the program, recipients get a debit card. The defendants would swipe the card for a certain amount, say $400, and give to the recipients in cash and keep the rest. The government for the entire 400. Ahmad Rahim also was charged with lying because he told investigators for agriculture that he was 100% certain that such fraud had not occurred. As that was false because he had personally committed the fraud. No court date has been set in the case. Through the scheme, the store received about $3 million more than it was entitled to receive. We have is off of Breitbart.com. Says U.S. Trade Representative, Congress has the votes to pass. Keep from sneezing. Oh, mercy. It says Representative Michael Fromm has the votes to pass the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement if it's brought up for a vote. If they, House and Senate leaders, I think we can get the votes here, Fromm said to NBC on Tuesday. A vocal proponent of TPP, having reportedly praised the deal times and played a leading part in drafting the deal before she was eventually forced to distance herself from her prior support. Presidential nominee Donald Trump has previously argued that says she's against TPP because she was shamed into doing so, and has warned that if she is elected, President Clinton will immediately approve it if it's put before. Here's how it would go up, Trump has explained. She would make a small token change, declare the pact fixed, and ram it through. That's why Hillary is now only saying she has problems with TPP, ensuring that she can rush to embrace it again at her earliest opportunity. Recent CNBC interview, Bill Clinton said that the TPP is clear. Just last week, Clinton's running mate, Senator Tim Kaine, seemed to leave the door open for the possibility that if Hillary Clinton's administration would pass an Asian trade deal similar to the TPP, declaring you never close the door on passing this type of multinational trade deal. Post has reported that Clinton's agenda on foreign trade would likely be advanced by Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan. Has been an enthusiastic advocate of the global trade policies. 15, Ryan was President Obama's partner in the effort to fast-track the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Wall Street Journal op-ed, Ryan described the TPP as an historic agreement, greater access to 1 billion customers for American manufacturers, farmers, and ranchers. Ryan was forced to rhetorically distance himself support for TPP when faced with preliminary challenge this past summer. More than a year praising the TPP and pushing through the trade TPA package, the skids for last year away slightly from his former position as a result into his primary battle in Wisconsin congressional district. Breitbart reported earlier this year own problems with the TPP. It is not ready, Ryan said of the 12-nation trade pact in August, indicating that he'd be open to enacting tweaked version of the agreement at a later date. Ryan told his Wisconsin constituents that he wouldn't be bringing the deal up for a vote during the lame duck session of Congress as long as we don't have the votes. Blockbuster Politico poll found that among those who have heard of the TPP, 63% oppose it and 68% thinks it should go on until new Congress comes into office after the lame duck session. Also revealed that a majority of Americans rejected the globalist trade agenda of Washington leaders like Clinton and Ryan by a 5-to-1 margin. Trade policies with other countries have lost American jobs a 4-to-1 margin. Americans believe our trade policies have lowered rather than raised wages. Americans believe our trade policies have raised U.S. wages. Norman's predictions are correct. The public's deals will not stop elected representatives in Congress from voting to enact one of the largest multinational trade agreements in history. Obviously made the case that if a Trump presidency is the only way to stop the TPP, our leaders have negotiated terrible deals that are bleeding this country dry. News earlier this year. Another terrible one-sided deal that rewards offshoring and enriches other countries at our expense. I will stop Hillary's Obama trade in its tracks. Clinton now published claims to oppose the deal in a private speech made public by WikiLeaks, made clear that she believes politicians need to have both a public and private position on every issue. In her speech delivered to Goldman Sachs executives, Clinton declared that her dream is for a hemispheric common market. Green Party presidential nominee Jill Stein has explained how both Republican and Democrat establishment politicians are united in their efforts to push the globalist trade deal that will give more power. Stein and her party have explained how the TPP will be the NAFTA on steroids and will enrich wealthy corporations by exporting jobs and pushing down wages. They have argued that the deal essentially amounts to global corporate coup that would give corporations more power than nations by letting them challenge. Stein and her progressive supporters have Clinton for her long-standing support of trade policies that cede national sovereignty to transitional corporations or transnational corporations, depress wages, and ship jobs overseas. It's in this that Jill sent out if you're interested in those. And then underneath it, it says a report from Economic Policy Institute has documented the impact of the U.S. trade deficit with TPP nations, American jobs throughout the nation. In 2015 alone, Michigan suffered a net loss of nearly 2,600 jobs due to the U.S. trade deficit with TPP countries, according to the Economic Policy Institute. A loss of 112,500 jobs in 2015 with TPP nations, according to the report. Pennsylvania lost nearly 70,000 jobs in 2015. North Carolina lost 60,700 jobs in 2015. Wisconsin lost nearly 40,000 jobs in 2015. Arizona lost 21,000 jobs in 2015. Lost 11,600 jobs in 2015. New Hampshire lost 7,400 jobs in 2015, according to the report. Mercy, I mean, good golly, that's let's see, 30, 70, 2, and 910, 10,700 jobs, 223,000, and then that would be over 400,000 jobs, 50,000 jobs last year because of the TPP. Smoke. Where are all those people working now? The economy's in the toilet. And if it's not for American workers being able to work and pay taxes, then where is the government getting its money from? That we are in debt over 20, what is it, bazillion dollars. Smoke. Yeah, is off of Breitbart.com. Emerges as weak link as CNN breaks Fox News in October for first time since 2001. In New York, Megyn Kelly of Fox News Channel has emerged as that network's weak link as Fox has fallen behind in the ratings for a full month for the first time since 2001. Out, and according to the Hill newspaper, CNN beat Fox News for the first time in 15 years. Enjoyed its strongest ratings months in years in October, beating rival Fox. The 25 to 54 demographic for full month for the first time since 2001. The Hill's Joe Concha wrote, CNN averaged 4,000 prime time viewers overall in October from the ages of 25 to 54 demographic by advertisers. Second, with an average of 663,000 viewers, while MSNBC averaged 4,000 viewers, an all-time high for the Comcast-owned network. Kelly's own program still finished atop cable news in the key 25 to 54 demographic for the month. CNN beating Fox News overall, a prime time in the demo for the first time in over a decade, comes as Kelly has emerged as the face of the networks, the honchos. Rupert Murdoch's son, James and Lachlan, over 21st Century Fox have decided, according to a Vanity Fair profile earlier in October, make Kelly the future of the network. And as they rallied entirely behind Kelly after Kelly made a move to oust Roger Ailes as the chairman of the company without evidence that he made an unwanted sexual advance against her years ago, the network's ratings have collapsed. As the network's leading anti-Donald Trump voice, using her platform to try to disparage the Republican presidential nominee and his supporters. Spat, which came last week, is a battle she had with Newt Gingrich over former President Bill Clinton's alleged sexual assaults and alleged rapes. Where Kelly continued parading her anti-Trump narrative as she's done throughout the course of the campaign. She took position against him early in the primaries in the summer of 2015. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow, two occasions, beat Kelly in both demo and overall ratings. Rachel Maddow made history last week, beat Fox News, The Kelly File, and both total viewers news demo of adults 25 to 54 on Thursday. Friday, Brian Flood wrote on October the 20th, was the first time the Rachel Maddow show has ever beaten Fox News in both categories. She averaged 609,000 demo viewers and 1 million total viewers. Debuted The momentum continued, at least in the demo on Monday, when Maddow beat CNN and Fox News among viewers aged 25 to 54, but fell to Megyn Kelly, the Kelly File, in total viewers. I have information on the Megyn Kelly. The next one we have here is off of Breitbart.com, and it says, our CNS News, 210 Syrian refugees so far in 2016, up 675% from 2015. 0.1% are Muslims. Now keep in mind they destroyed over 400,000 jobs. And then on top of that, just this year alone, in 13,210 Syrian refugees. That doesn't include all the other refugees that they've shipped in here. And where are they supposed to get jobs? They're supposed to support them, since all of our people are out of work and not paying taxes in. Want to support all these refugees for housing, education, health care, food. Wonder who could answer that one for me. The Obama administration has resettled 13,210 Syrian refugees into the United States since the beginning of 2016, an increase of 675% over the same 10-month period in 2015. 13,100, 1% are Muslims, 166 Sunnis, and 110 other Muslims, and 77, or 0.5%, are Christians. Another 24.18% are Yazidis. The January through October period in 2015, 705 Syrian refugees were admitted. 1,664, or 97.5%, were Muslims, and 29.7% were Christians. Began in March of 2011. An estimated 74% of the Syrian population was Sunni Muslim, and an estimated 10% was Christian. Therefore, states admitted Christian Syrian refugees in proportion to the population. Roughly 1,260 Christians would have been resettled into the United States in fiscal year 2016. Next one we have is off of, okay. Let me go back here a second and see what we're supposed to be having up. Find it. My computer's been acting up this evening, and it is crazy. Go on here just a little bit. Just bear with me. Okay, let's see. Covered that one, and trying to find the right link here to pull up. Okay, we did Megyn Kelly and Muslims, and now we're going to do this one if we can get it to come up. So let's give this a shot. Here. And see if we can get the hamster to run in the wheel and drag it up here for us. Okay, there we go. This is off Breitbart, and it says, cartel smugglers speed through Texas school zones to elude capture. McAllen, Texas, tried to ram a police vehicle and children at risk as he sped through various school zones in an attempt to elude capture, authorities said. Authorities have arrested and charged Johnny Alexander Ramosa, legal immigrant from Honduras, in connection with his role smuggling organization. Authorities found 15 illegal immigrants inside a stash house under Ontario's control. By Brevard, Texas, revealed the details of a high-speed chase in the latest wave of human smuggling and trafficking operations that have pushed the flow of illegal immigrants to record levels. Federal agents received intelligence about a possible stash house being used by human smuggling organizations operating in South Texas. The agents set up a surveillance operation on the location in order to identify the way the organization worked. Brevard, Texas has reported in the past that all human smuggling and trafficking taking place in the Rio Grande Valley is controlled by Mexico's Gulf Cartel. The agents carrying out surveillance at the alleged stash house spotted a white pickup driven by Ramos Osorio and saw a second vehicle drive up to the house to pick up a small group of illegal immigrants, court revealed. Deputies Hildego County Sheriff's Office tried to stop the black pickup as it was leaving the house, but successful. Deputy constables with Hildego County, the white pickup had been driving when he left the house. Ramos Osorio drove off at a high rate of speed. The suspect drove straight at a stopped police vehicle and also drove at a high rate of speed through two school zones, according to authorities. The chase took place at a time when children were being dismissed from school. Agents were able to use a tire deflation device, but refused to stop and continued the chase with a flat tire. Eventually, the suspect from Honduras stopped and tried to run away, but U.S. Border Patrol agents caught up. Once in custody, Ramos Osorio told the authorities that he was in the country illegally and confirmed that 15 illegal immigrants were in the house. During questioning, the man told agents that he was taking care of the human stash house in order to pay. Ramos Osorio tried to ram the police vehicle in an effort to scare off the authorities. My goodness. Next article that we have for you is off Breitbart.com. Let's see, that's not it. Let me try this again. NakedIslam.com. We've had enough. Italian Prime Minister threatens to cripple the EU unless it stops mass Muslim migration. Furious Italian leader Matteo Renzi today threatened to fatally cripple the entire European Union project unless Brussels bureaucrats do something about ending the Muslim invasion. In an extraordinary threat, the apocalyptic, PM to veto the EU budget and starve Brussels taxpayers, using complete paralysis if the refugee chaos is not fixed here. A visibly angry Mr. Renzi, Italy cannot survive another influx of migrants in 2017, similar to the one it faced this year, and blasted Europe's inability to show solidarity on the issue. His remarkable threat marks another ratcheting up of the growing tensions between Rome and Brussels. It's been stretched to the breaking point by the migration crisis. Italy has become a point for millions of migrants and refugees hoping to reach Europe ever since the route to Greece was effectively cut off by a deal with Turkey. More than 155,000 Muslims posing as asylum seekers have arrived in the country this year, crossing the Mediterranean from Libya on rickety smugglers' boats. Switzerland and France to the north have shored up their borders, meaning almost all of those have become trapped in Italy, strain on services and local communities. Speaking of the talk show Florida last night, Mr. Renzi blasted, either we block the influx by 2017 or Italy will not handle another year like the past year. And now we can manage it. Winter is coming and sea conditions will worsen, but we have 6 months maximum. So hinted that he will veto the EU budget in retaliation for the critical situation unless Brussels steps in and forces member states fair share of migrants. He blasted, if the Eastern countries who are growing with the help of our money and do not open their doors to migrants, then we'll put a veto on the future European budget. To impose migrant quotas on countries difficulty following furious opposition from Eastern European countries and a less than enthusiastic response from others already struggling with the pressures of mass migration. Member states, including Hungary, which recently held a referendum where 98% of voters rejected the migrant quotas, are even taking legal proceedings against the EU in a bid to hold up the scheme. Minister Angelo Alfano backed up Mr. Renzi's extraordinary to veto the EU budget and withhold funds from Brussels unless it resolves the impasse. Use the veto. We give our money so that in exchange for these, others honor their commitments. Money does not go through walls. You know what? We will not give more money. Country's net budget contribution under the former leader, the technocrat, he added, the Monte government determined that we give 20 billion euros and receive 12. But if Hungary and Slovakia give us moral lessons about our money and then refuse to give us a hand on, that doesn't work. Videos in this if you'd like to take a look at the videos in that article. The next article I have for you is off of barenakedislam.com, and it says, University of Wisconsin Saudi Muslim student beaten to death. Hussein Saeed Al-Nande, Al-Nande, I was right, and the alleged attacker is being called a white man about 6 foot tall. It's available, including whether or not his white attacker was a fellow Muslim. $1 reward is being offered for the attacker, as well as a $5,000 reward designed or from designated terrorist group CAIR. Professor tried to reassure Saudi exchange students, I just want our Saudi students to know they are wanted. They are a deeply important part of this community. They are valued, and we'll do everything we can to keep them safe and let them value, Assistant Professor Emmy Strump said. Especially because the Saudis pay full tuition, no student aid or scholarships required. They don't even need good grades to get in. It's a rich father who will make a big donation to the school. Video in that if you'd like to take a look at that article. Next one we have here is off of EUTimes.net. And this one says, U.S. military notifies Russia of alert status due to presidential election threat. Very sobering Ministry of Defense, or D, report circulating in the Kremlin today says that the Federation has been officially notified by the United States North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD. Military forces are now on sustained alert status due to unspecified threats directly related to their upcoming November 8th presidential election. Words and or phrases appearing in quotes in this report are English language approximations of Russian words or phrases having no exact counterpart. So, just so you know, as I'm reading this. According to this report, under protocol and procedures outlined in the New START Treaty that came into force on of 2011 between the Federation and the United States, one of the obligations of signing parties risk of war is a notification process to take place when aberrations, sudden changes apart from normal are made. And that occurred this past week when NORAD unexpectedly expands its 17 to 21 October air defense exercises with Canada to now include California region, where just yesterday U.S. warplanes conducted what they call security exercises. As to the Americans' explanation or reasons for expanding the U.S. of their warplanes over the continental United States, or CONSUS, foreign threat being known, the Pentagon explains as being a national security event due to unspecified threats being posed to the national leadership of the U.S. government and directly related to the presidential. Deputy Defense Minister Titania Shekstov and shockingly writes in this report that the American government is currently undergoing a silent coup, pitting forces loyal to President Obama against those aligned with Hillary Clinton, who was the former disgraced U.S. Secretary of State and is facing estimated 20 years prison sentence for obstruction of justice, and also closed in upon by Obama's Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI, who have launched a staggering 5 different criminal investigations against her and everyone of her inner circle. Deputy Minister Shestova further notes in this mod report that the vast criminality of Hillary Clinton and everyone associated with her has been so exposed to the American public that President Obama's greatest fear now is that even if she were able to be elected, she could single-handedly destroy the Democratic Party for decades to come, an observation curiously supported by American experts who believe the same. Equally to be as feared by the Obama regime as Hillary Clinton, this report continues, Chairman John Podesta, who is described as being adept at earning extraordinary sums of money by selling out the American public, and who WikiLeaks revealed yesterday gave the order to destroy all of Hillary Clinton's emails that were under subpoena by the U.S. Congress, and that a U.S. federal judge had likewise ordered to be returned to the U.S. State Department. Guardian News Service, having gone through all of Podesta's WikiLeaks released emails, even as far leftist publication, has been appalled at the level of corruption of Hillary Clinton around her, and who wrote yesterday that the level of criminality surrounding Hillary Clinton points us toward the most fundamental thing we know about these people at the top of this class, one another, and the way it overrides everything else. As the 6 biggest U.S.-based corporations supporting Hillary Clinton control some 90% of thousands media outlets, including television channels, newspapers, stations, and online editions, which means that the U.S. media market is to a great extent, and alternative outlets cannot be accessed in many towns. This report continues. The American people have awoken to the fact it's fallen to 41st out of 180 countries in the latest reports. Press Freedom Index, to both their shame and amazement, elites have done to them. American people's response or reaction to the horrors that their reporting criminal elite class has put, report notes, they are even now massively rejecting manipulation of polling data from voting, and have also reacted in horror to YouTube yesterday censoring a Wall Street Journal video telling these people how they are being lied to and deceived. More imperial evidence showing Donald Trump is poised to win next week's U.S. presidential election in a landslide, and the Obama regime itself now turning against Hillary Clinton. This report grimly one believing that Hillary Clinton criminal forces won't strike back to retake control of America would be gravely mistaken, and the worst may be yet to come. Here's that article. Next one I have for you is off of odditycentral.com, and this one says India's most generous boss rewards thousands of employees with cars and apartments. Try to blow this up a little bigger because the print is so small on it. Get it big enough we can read it. Okay. This one says it's not entirely unusual for bosses of successful companies to give out bonuses to employees on major holidays, but how many can claim that they are generous? Sajay Dolakia, a CEO of Hare Krishna Exports, who recently gifted some 1,200 cars and 400 apartments to over 1,600 of his most loyal, hardworking staffers. If we keep our employees happy, God will keep us happy, Dolakia said. And while he is certainly not the only boss to claim that he puts his staff first, the man actually puts his money where his mouth is. Long streak of generous bonuses 20 years ago when he gave 3 of his top employees their own cars, and he has been upping his game every year since. He distributed Rs 500M, £6 million, or $7.5 million, as performance incentives, and last year he gave away 491 cars and 200 apartments. But the most special yet, to celebrate his company's 25th anniversary, the man known as India's most generous boss just gave away over 1,260 cars and 400 apartments to over 1,700 of his most valuable employees. We have selected 1,716 employees as the best performers this year. We are arranging houses for those who already have cars, while those who don't have a four-wheel will get one, Dolakia said. We have exports worth $700 million across more than 70 countries, but nothing is more valuable than our employees. The 53-year-old diamond merchant was born in a rural family in Sarstrasta, I think it's pronounced, I'm guessing. Dropped out of school in 4th grade and joined his uncle in a small diamond trading firm when he was just 13 years old. He started his own business with his uncle's support, and after his 3 brothers joined him, Nokia managed to turn Hare Krishna Exports into a powerhouse with an annual turnover of $750 million. For diamond polishers for years when he was young, Dolakia rode a moped and dreamed of one day owning his own house and a nice car. He claims those early days inspired him to take care of his employees. That once you have taken care of basic needs of your family, which I feel is having your own house and car, you can focus and give 100% to work. I want my employees to give their 100%. I want them to be free of worries of meeting basic necessities, he said in an interview. Dolakia also takes his employees' family members, their parents, on 15-day sponsored vacation twice a year. It's during this time that he tries to find out how his employees treat their families. Also occasionally organize family get-togethers so that he can remain in touch with their families, said Ayane, HR manager of Hare Krishna Exports. What those generous gifts mean to his workers, Dolakia said, I don't have words to describe the happiness we see in them and the happiness we feel. So there you have that article that I have, GatesstoneInstitute.org, and to turn the world into an Islamic colony. And we'll make this a little bit larger so that we can read it. Okay, the UN is the mothership of injustice and radical global Islam. As the UN does not recognize the historical presence and continuity of their land, the next people on the menu in UNESCO's food chain are most likely the Greeks and the Italians. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan already said as much last week. Surprised of UNESCO to institutionalize the Islamic presence in the international community, claims that Greeks have nothing to do with the and the Parthenon, and that Italy has no historical ties to the Colosseum in Rome. Mission of Muslims into Greece by 2050, the Greeks will be a minority in their own country. The Greek media chose not to inform the Greek people on their attitude of their politicians toward the Jewish nation because it would expose their preference for Islam over Israel. Might not see this choice in a positive light. How can Greece credibly ask for help from the global community on the issue of Hagia Sophia in Istanbul when the politicians themselves maintain a neutral attitude? Identical issue of the Jerusalem Temple Mount. When the news arrived that UNESCO does not recognize the connection of the Jewish people to Jerusalem's Temple Mount, that the UN is the mothership of injustice and radical global Islamization, which include large block of organization of Islamic cooperation, the OIC, 56 Islamic nations plus Palestine evidently believe that to transform the Western world into an Islamic colony, first they must bring down the state of Israel. This resembles the suggestion in ancient of the exiled Greek general Demaratos, Persia, Xerxes. If you want Greece to fall, first you have to destroy the Spartans. If Jerusalem falls into the hands of Islam, the rest of the world will presumably fall. UNESCO's decision is not only non-essential from an historical perspective, Islam did not exist at the time of ancient Jerusalem. Basically, it is also a strategic move against cultural foundations of the West. Not recognize the historical presence and continuity of the Jewish people in their land. The next people on the menu in UNESCO's food chain are most likely the Greeks and then the Italians. Turkish President Erdogan already said that as much last week. Greece hosts 2 million illegal immigrants from Muslim-majority countries. Research in Greece shows that with the aging and native population and immigration of young people due to Greece's economic crisis, by 2050 the native Greeks will number 0.3 million, which is 2.5 million fewer than today. With the rate of admission of Muslims into Greece by 2050, the Greeks will be a minority in their own country. No one would be surprised if a few years from now, UNESCO analyzes the Islamic presence in the international community, claims that Greeks have nothing to do with the Acropolis and the Parthenon, and that Italy has no historical ties to the Colosseum in Rome. The recent UNESCO resolution on Jerusalem should worry the political establishment, not only in Greece, but throughout Europe, such as flamboyant injustice from the UN against the history of an ancient nation, such as the Jews, and partiality toward Islam committed against any of us. Turkey's president already wants to turn the iconic cathedral in Istanbul into a mosque and has appointed a full-time imam who says daily Islamic prayers in his most sacred space of the Greek Orthodox Hagia Sophia Cathedral in Istanbul is for Orthodox Christians, what Mecca is for Salem and the Western Walls is for the Jew. It has been declared UNESCO World Heritage Monument, but the Turkish president nevertheless wants to turn it into a mosque. Despite these threats to the entire Greek heritage, however, virtually all members of the Greek establishment submissively closed their eyes to the UN's justice against the Jewish people, because this time it was not against them. During the UNESCO vote, the Greek government, Alexis Tsipras and Panos Kamenos, of the opposition of Kyriakos Mitsotakis, chose not to honor the strategic relationship that they otherwise claim our country has developed with the state of Israel. They insulted not only the Jewish people and the friendly feelings for our neighbors in the Mediterranean, but the entire heritage of the West, which is seriously threatened. The Greek media, 99% of news websites from the Greek people about the attitude of the politicians toward the Jewish nation, because it would expose their preference for Islam over Israel, might not see this choice in a positive light. This dishonest attitude from Greek political system against an ally undermines Greece national stage, as it reveals Greece as an unreliable interlocutor. The Greek government jeopardizes Greece's security. No country will trust Greek politicians again. They're apparently preparing our country to be the next snack in Turkey's breakfast, and they know it. How can Greece credibly ask for help from the global community of Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, where the politicians themselves maintain on the virtually identical issue of the Jerusalem's Temple Mount? The Greek political system in its entirety does not honor the Greek nation's history, its values, and its consistency toward its friends and allies. It is a system which has no political mandate from Greek people. The political system's domestic and foreign actions do not have the approval of the Greeks. In the polls that are not rigged, the entire establishment enjoys the approval of less than 50% of the electorate. Greeks have to choose between a government coalition that refers ideology and politically the repressive wing of the U.S. Democratic Party, which refers ideology and politically to German Chancellor Merkel and her party, the Christian Democrats Union, or the CDU. Alternative choices for the Greek electorate: it is a rigged system with corrupt politicians, a dishonest media, and a manipulated judiciary. The Greek political system is killing its own citizens. Greek politicians, by submitting to EU's economic rescue programs, have incredible poverty to the people. Meanwhile, the country is being colonized and Islamicized illegal Muslim immigrants. The Persians are here in the form of the OIC, the UN and political system that seems weighted toward the politicians keeping their jobs instead of citizens. The Greek people and other European people are looking for political means to fight them back at the Thermopylae of the 21st century. So there's that article for you. Wow, those Greek names are something else. The next one we have is off Daily Mail. And we did an article on this. I think I did it Monday's show about this polio thing. Disease that's going around hitting these children, that it looks a lot like polio. And they call it the mystery disease. And here's another article on it. Boy 6 dies 2 weeks after contracting mysterious polio disease that's sweeping the U.S. Daniel Ramirez, age 6, was hospitalized drooling with pain on October the 15th. His parents thought he had stomachache, but Test showed he had AFM. AFM is acute flaccid myelitis, which can lead to paralysis in kids. Daniel suffered 2 strokes last week. He was pronounced brain dead on Sunday afternoon. Children in Seattle Children's Hospital with AMF recently. AMF is a rare virus, but the CDC has recording a recent surge of this infection. And if you want to read more on that, you're welcome to read more on it. I'm not going to read the whole article because I just did it the other day, similar to this. So if you who has children that are coming down with some kind of a paralysis type situation and the doctors don't know what it is, point them in this direction to check out these articles online about this. I would particularly mention to them there's another name for this thing, but if you point them toward the AFM or acute flaccid myelitis, would be a good start to checking this thing out. This is so sad. The article that I have for you is off of eutimes.net. This one says, Europe has no future. Putin slams Austria migrant child rape injustice. In truly shocking twist, the Supreme Court of Austria has decided to acquit the Iraqi man that may not have realized the 10-year-old Austrian boy did not want to be sexually abused by him. Amar, age 20, was visiting the Theresienbad pool in the Austrian capital of Vienna in December of 2015 as part of a trip migration when the rape incident occurred. Europe, if you can't stand up for your children, who will? Of course, there is the fact that Western Europe has supported the U.S. in their violent destruction of the Middle East over the past 20 years. It is a guilty conscience that seems to appease the blatant criminal activity on behalf of some newcomers, or are puppets implanted into the judicial system that are at work. Russia is a multicultural and multi-religious society and has been for 1,000 years. The law applies to everyone equally, whether you're a Crimean Tatar or Slavic Russian. Every Russian citizen is a native as such and subject to the same protocols. A migrant has just raped a child in one of European countries. The court found him not guilty based on 2 things. The migrant did not understand the language of his host country, and he did not understand that the boy, and it was a boy, didn't want this. Vladimir Putin was outraged when he heard about the incident, and here's what he has to say. It doesn't fit into my head what on earth they're thinking over there. This is the result of dilution of national values. I can't even explain the rationale. It is a situation of guilt before migrants. What's going on? It's not clear. But a society that cannot defend its children today has no tomorrow. It has no future. So relying on their migration policy experience is not the best thing to do, if I can be frank. But we have a 1,000-year history forming a multicultural society. Our intricacies is much deeper. So there you have that article. Wow. The last one I have for you is your feel good. I always like to leave the show on a little bit higher note because so many of these articles are negative. And you might have noticed I didn't do much of anything on the election in this show. Put the majority, or if not all, of that stuff in my special editions to keep it out of the current events, even though the election is current events. But almighty, there's, so many articles on this election that it would take up the whole show and then some. So, this one I tried to keep current events and keep it off the election as much as possible. But I do have a feel good for you, and I feel like it's very important for us to try to balance ourselves. And, we get so much negative, we need a little positive in there too. Enjoyed this. This is going to be a screen share, a little video for you. Goes about a minute and a half. So here and this real quick.
And more than 20,000 shares later, and Kyle Bigler's life has completely changed.
He knows my coffee. He knows everybody's coffee. You just walk in and he's so personable and he's so kind. And
Joanna Griffiths posted this photo of a complete stranger who she thought needed recognition.
I came through the drive-thru and I took a picture of him and I said, "I'm going to make you famous." And he goes, "Yeah, right," because of my crazy hair or something.
His looks, that mattered.
On Sundays and Mondays, I do 20, 21-hour shifts straight.
8.5 miles from this Dunkin' Donuts in Belmont to the Big Apple in Guilford for a night shift.
I was like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "You were working at 7:30 this morning." I was like, "Was that you walking?" And he was like, "Yup."
Young man working minimum wage at 2 full-time jobs, doing what it takes to see his son and pay his bills.
There are jobs everywhere. You just have to look. If it's a problem with someone not having a vehicle, I walk 8 miles.
Out to now offer him employment. AutoServe in Tilton even giving him a free car.
I thought, we probably have a couple of cars here that we could just donate to him so he doesn't have to walk 20 miles a day.
Nation and work ethic, one like at a time.
He persevered through, 2 minimum wage jobs. It doesn't matter what job you're at. As long as you try hard and do your best, you can make it.
Jenna McNutt, NH1 News.
Great.
That I thought you'd enjoy that. That's a nice little feel-good article. Shows what perseverance and persistence will do for you. Enthusiasm. So many people are out of work. The news was a perfect example of our jobs being shipped overseas and all that, but there are jobs out there to be had if you want to work. So many folks that's trying to take advantage of the system, and the system's not going to be there for you. If there's no money going in, you can't keep taking money out. The gravy train is going to end eventually. So it's going to be up to us to try to come up with jobs, for those that are willing to work and want to work, that you can do. So be persistent, be enthusiastic. I hope you're having a beautiful day where you are. And I hope you can go out and kick off your shoes, stick your feet down in the grass, soak up some earth energy, balance yourself, take a breath of fresh air deep into your lungs, and be glad you woke up above ground. We'll see you later. Bye.